Hey everyone, this is Anthony Avina. Welcome to my channel, and welcome to this week's episode of My Weekly Reading. This week we're going to continue Epicenter. It's been a couple weeks since I last read from here. We are in Chapter 3, and I'm going to be reading Section 2 today. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you want to find out what happened last time, or you want to start from the beginning, just check out the playlist. I'll put it somewhere here on the video. Annotation wise, and I will now begin starting section 2. Here is Epicenter, chapter 3, section 2. Enjoy, guys. That was 1 year ago. Many things have transpired since then. Where once my day would consist of investigating murders and coming to my loft in Los Angeles to my beautiful wife, I now lead a small colony of survivors in Apple Valley, California. The majority of the infected remain in the larger cities such as Los Angeles, gathered together like it's Woodstock or something. Don't you know what Woodstock is? I suggest you go find a history book or book on music festivals and find out for yourself. We have about 200 survivors in our camp. Each one came from somewhere up and down the coast. I am the head of a council of 12 survivors that lead the colony, making life and death decisions every day. My wife sits on the council with me, along with 10 other survivors we met in the first month or so of the outbreak. The government is gone. The biological outbreak hit all the major sources of government, and so far as we've heard, the U.S. military doesn't exist any longer. We've kept trying to communicate with the rest of the world through radio waves and even managed to pull up a telegraph system, which a couple of survivors in our group who were historians before the outbreak rigged together. However, there has been no word from the outside world. Monica gave birth to a healthy baby boy a few months into the apocalypse. She was in labor for 20 hours, and when that moment came when my son was born, I was right at her side, wiping the sweat from her brow and encouraging her through the pain. He weighed 8 pounds and was 20 inches long, and we named him Jake, after our fallen friend. He's the most handsome baby boy I've ever seen, and I was overjoyed when he was born, despite our desperate living situation. Our small community has set up inside of a gated community within the small desert town. The high walls and gated fences have managed to hold off the few zombies that roam the town, and after a week of cleaning out the corpses and zombies inside the gated community, we were able to set up inside the houses and build our little colony. Monica and I set up in this nice one-story home near the center of the colony, which the survivors have dubbed New Valley, in the spirit of reclamation and revitalization. We didn't get around to putting any sort of decoration or anything up, because in this new, harsh environment, we had to be prepared to flee at a moment's notice. All we cared about was having a bed to sleep in and having a crib for Jake to rest in. We got our food and supplies in the town square with the rest of the survivors, partaking in the small garden and fresh meat from the little farm that had been started in New Valley. On October 30th, nearly a year after the initial zombie outbreak, my world was rocked completely. It started off as a normal day, or as normal as a day could get in those days, with me getting up and helping Monica get Jake changed and fed properly. Getting dressed that morning, I remember feeling the brisk, cool breeze of the desert morning washing over my face, and I marveled that despite the horrors that we face now, we could still wake up to a beautiful sunrise like today. Mama and I dressed in jeans, t-shirts, tennis shoes, and a thin sweater each, trying to keep warm and maintain dress wear that would allow us to run should trouble arise. Jake was wrapped up in warm clothes and a blanket while wearing a black beanie. "Beautiful morning," she remarked, holding Jake in her arms as we walked down the street. I could hear the stress in her voice, and I felt my heart break into pieces as I heard it. I could still remember the chipper, hopeful woman I had married. I can remember coming home, seeing her reading her favorite novel or painting a picture near the window, and when she turned towards me, the light from the fading sun would catch her just right, and she would look so beautiful, with the most wonderful smile. She was still beautiful, but you could only see the last year had taken its toll on her, and had hardened her in ways I had hoped she would never have to experience. Over the course of the year, I had noticed that our colony had become quite a close-knit group, building a place of peace, hope, and family, at least inside the walls of the community. However, on this day, the community was quiet, like the calm before the storm. Reaching the town square, we found that most of the citizens had gathered there already, passing around food and drinks for breakfast and watching us as children played together in the makeshift playground some of the parents had put together for the younger children. Upon entering the square, I saw the council meeting up together near the house that served as our town hall, speaking in hushed voices and looking around worriedly. As leader of the town, I had become the unofficial law enforcement in the town. My experience with the FBI had made me the most likely candidate to take the controls over as the law of the community, and I tried my best to remain fair and understanding about the way the world works now. But finding the balance between lawman and overseer is a difficult path to walk. "What's going on?" Monica asked, balancing Jake on her chest and walking with me towards the council. "I'm not sure," I repeated, checking around to see if something was amiss and fixing my holster to make sure my gun was secured. Walking over, I looked upon the men and women whom I had started calling friends and colleagues since the beginning of the apocalypse. There is Barry and Tricia, a young Caucasian couple from Seattle, Washington, who had been vacationing in LA when the apocalypse hit. There was Lori, Steve, and Emily, siblings in their mid-20s who had lived in Las Vegas and had been on the road to Santa Monica when the attacks occurred. There was Vivian and Marshall, an older African-American man and older Asian woman, who were both doctors from Chicago who had been on a road trip to San Diego during the attacks. There was Hector and Sylvia, a middle-aged Hispanic couple who had been born and raised in Apple Valley, and who worked as agricultural scientists for a big company in California. And finally, there was the former governor of California, Governor Wilson Hawes, a 50-something white man who was quite reserved and stubborn, always butting heads with me and our decisions. "Wilson, everyone, what's going on?" I asked the group, walking in on the middle of a conversation with Monica and Jake at my side. "Wilson's been keeping something a secret from the group, Clark," Hector said, straightening out his glasses on his face and looking angry with Wilson. "Shut your mouth, Hector, before I throw you out of this community and let the creatures beating at our door feast on your body." "You'd like that, wouldn't you? You wanted me dead since we got here, you racist old fuck," Hector spat. "Hey guys, let's calm down here," Steve said, trying to come between Wilson and Hector. "Listen to the young man, both of you," Marshall replied, placing a reassuring hand on Hector's shoulder. "Jesus Christ, you two, what's going on?" I asked, looking at them both with a stern, serious look on my face. "Tell him, Wilson. Tell him what you've been hiding," Sylvia spoke up, coming to her husband's aid. "Everything I've done for the betterment of not only our colony, but our species as a whole." "What have you done, Wilson?" Monica asked, stepping back with Jake in her arms, worried about what would happen. She looked around, saw a young girl we had been letting babysit Jake when we were in council meetings or working, and she handed Jake off, wanting her full attention on the situation. "What have I done? I've stopped worrying about surviving one day at a time and have looked to the one man who knows the most about this outbreak. I took him in, sheltered him so that he could help the rest of our community survive." "What man? Who the hell are you talking about?" I asked the former politician, recognizing the little dance he and I were having and knowing he was still clinging to the old ways of politics. He looked at me, then stubbornly looked away, refusing to give me the answer. Jesus, he's got the man responsible for this whole fucking apocalypse sitting inside the town hall right now. Thomas King is standing on the other side of that door, Hector said, waving his hand towards the town hall. I took a step back and felt the air get knocked out of me. I wanted to refute the claim, tell him how impossible that was. I wanted to tell him how I saw the man zombified after I had killed him, that he had become one of the undead and had last been seen in Los Angeles. However, I couldn't speak, for as Hector spoke, I looked towards the town hall, and as I looked, I saw the door to the house open, and out stepped the terrorist responsible for so much death and destruction, Thomas King. Motherfucker, I whispered, and before anyone could catch me, I ran up the steps leading to the front door, grabbed King by the throat, and pinned him to the stucco of the outside wall. I drew my pistol, placed it against his temple, and cocked the hammer back on the gun back. Clark, take it easy, hun, Monica said, running to my side and placing a hand on my back. Listen to the woman, Clark. We need the good doctor, Wilson said, worry seeping into his voice. This man is responsible for the largest terrorist attack this world has ever seen. He tortured and killed dozens of people before he unleashed this virus. I shot and killed this man once, and saw him come back from the dead and rip apart my best friend in the world. He's a psychopath, and I'm going to put him in the ground once and for all, I whispered, grinding my teeth and seething with anger. I know how angry you are at this monster, son, but you're not a murderer. If he came back from a zombie and became human again, we can study him and find out why. Don't give in to the rage, son, Marshall said, speaking to me calmly and reminding me of my father, who had passed 2 years before the apocalypse. Listen to your friends, Clark. You're going to need me before the day's over, King said mockingly, as if he had some knowledge that I didn't possess and that guaranteed his life. What the hell are you talking about? I asked him, fighting my instinct to shoot the man dead right then and there. I've returned from the dead because I intended to, Mr. Young. You don't think I'd create a deadly virus that would wipe out humanity if I didn't have a serum to cure it, did you? A cure? You have a cure for becoming a zombie? Hector said with a doubt filling his voice. Yes, an inoculation I gave myself before you killed me. You see, Detective, I knew it was only a matter of time before the police arrived.